Okay, so the next thing that we are going to discuss in section 2 of our course is security groups and network ACLs, access control lists. Now when you first start out using AWS and you start thinking about security and how to secure your instances and your virtual private cloud, it's a little confusing, and you come across two basic ideas of how this security sort of all hangs together. One is the security group and the other is the network ACL, and at first glance they seem very similar and they do similar things, yes, but they have subtle differences which we will discuss. And it's these subtle differences that during the AWS exam they like to trick you and throw in a few questions about security groups and network ACLs. So very, very important to try and understand the differences. Now, one of the main differences, if you have a look at the screen, is that security group operates at the instance level and is the first layer of defense. And looking at our diagram, you can see an instance, and there it is, a security group. Now I'm going to go back to the console, even though I said I wasn't going to use the console much, and I will totally take back what I said, and I will use the console if I think it's going to illustrate a point a little bit better than what I have in my slides. So we jump to the console and we go to our EC2. Hopefully you're familiar with this to some degree, and we launch an instance. Let's just pick I don't know, Ubuntu, because I like Ubuntu, and not going to worry too much about the preliminary things. We're going to pick a T2 micro. All that's going to go to default because it's not what I want to show you. Name, don't care. And this is the important part where you come to configure security group. So if you launch an instance, this is where you first come across security groups, and you can create a new security group or select an existing security group. I suggest you create a new one for each instance, unless you have reason not to, unless all your instances are very similar, and hence their security needs to be very similar. But basically what I tell everyone to do is SSH is obviously, we need SSH if we're going to get to this instance ourselves, so we leave that. But one thing to note is you should probably put your IP only there, and it'll auto come up with your IP, meaning that you're the only one that can SSH to this instance, or sorry, you can only SSH to that instance from your IP. A lot of web pages I design, so I usually put in HTTP and HTTPS, and that's about it. That's the start of it. So yeah, try and put as little in here as possible, meaning you don't want to open up every port to everybody. For instance, if you were to go to custom TCP rule and put in ridiculous open ports, that won't work. But open up a lot of ports without really knowing what you're doing, and stuff like that, you'll get a warning that says, if you allow anyone to come in on that IP, sorry, if you allow all IP addresses to access your instance, you'll get a warning. So I take heed of this warning. Let's jump back, but that's what I just wanted to quickly show you of when you first set up your instance. you will be asked to set up a security group, and don't just click and go, no, not going to think about it. Think about this, important. Okay, so here we are back again, and the other thing to note is that one of the main differences between these two is the security group applies to an instance only if someone specifies a security group when he launches the instance, which we just did then, or associates the security group with the instance later on. Network ACLs, however, it automatically applies to all instances in subnets it's associated with, and it's a backup layer of defense, so you don't have to rely on someone specifying a security group. So it pretty much automatically applies to all instances in your subnet, whereas a security group, you have to actually make the rules. We're going to have a quick look at network access control lists. Sorry, before I do that, I would try and commit this to memory, that security groups support allow rules only, and network ACLs support allow rules and deny rules, meaning black and white lists. Security group is stateful, return traffic is automatically allowed regardless of any rules, and network ACLs are stateless. Return traffic must be explicitly allowed by rules. So again, I'm going to jump to the console just because it probably illustrates the point a little better. And if we look at a VPC and down at security level, network ACLs, let's just pick one of these, and we have a network ACL. We have inbound rules and outbound rules. As we stated before, it's got rules both ways. It also has allow and deny, so that's your black and white list. You can deny certain IPs, you can allow certain IPs, and there is the subnets associated with this NACL. And security groups, if we have a look at one of my security groups, it's only allowing SSH to come in. All traffic out, but that's the only way you can get in, and it's tied to my IP. Not sure what I'm doing with this instance. However, nobody can get to it unless they come from my IP on port 22 with access keys as well. Okay, I hope that explains it a little better. Then you already understood security groups and network ACLs. Again, very, very important to the Solutions Architect exam. I think there's a question coming up. Okay, now this is, excuse me, sort of question you can expect on the exam. And the question is, which Amazon VPC feature acts as a firewall for associated Amazon EC2 instances, controlling both inbound and outbound traffic at the instance level? So, the hint here is it's going to be NACL or security groups, which we just talked about. So which one acts as a firewall and is associated at the instance level? If we were to go back and have a look, security group operates at the instance level. So I think that's going to be our answer. And that is correct. The answer is security groups. Let's read this. It's what we've already been over, but very important. And I have a remember Stick it note, meaning remember, because it might be, or it's more than likely to be, in the exam. So Amazon VPC provides two features that you can use to increase security for your VPC. We talked about both of these. There were security groups, which act as a firewall for associated Amazon EC2 instances, controlling both inbound and outbound traffic at the instance level, while network access control lists act as a firewall for associated subnets, controlling both inbound and outbound traffic at the subnet level. So they're both firewalls, but there are subtle differences between how they relate to your Amazon VPC. Okay, that's it for security groups and ACLs.